Hello. It's me, Kenny Polcari, your host of the party. Morning market commentary, everything you need to know. And where am I today? I'm in the financial district in New York City, also known as FiDi, right down here at the Chase Manhattan Plaza, which has been newly renovated. And I got my morning cup of Joe from the Coffee Cot guy up on Broadway, who is still there a year and a half after the pandemic. And just so you know, when you come to New York City, there's nothing like coffee from the Coffee Cot. Starbucks, I can't even think about it. Try the coffee from the Coffee Cot and support the small business owner in any sense. So what's going on? Today is Tuesday, July 27th, and there's a lot going on. So let's talk about it, right? What do you need to know? The China syndrome yesterday failed to force the markets lower, but they are trying again today. Amazon denying anything to do with Bitcoin, with the Bitcoin rumor, sending Bitcoin falling this morning. But is there more to come? That's going to be the question. Tesla smashes every estimate on every line, reporting $1.1 billion in quarterly net profits. Google, Microsoft, Apple all due out after the bell tonight. And what are we having for dinner? We're having the veal cutlet capriccioso, which is a great dish, easy to make, great for the summer, great for any time of year. It's really delicious. All right, and so the worries from yesterday morning faded from darkness to light. The China crackdown, which had cast a pall over global markets yesterday morning, ended up being a non-event for U.S. markets. Although, again, this morning it is trying to push them low, but we'll talk about that in a minute, right? Stocks rallied after the initial push lower, finding support at all about the same time, 10:30-ish. The market found its lows, and then buyers came in and took all the indexes higher, right? And the slow and steady climb began. By the end of the day, the Dow was up 83 points, the S&P up 10, the NASDAQ up 4, the Russell and transports added 7 points and 16 points respectively. So it wasn't a really busy day, but the markets did end higher. It's a big week for earnings, and we know that. We're getting some of the big names reporting a flurry of giant technology companies that are surely going to prove that the pandemic did little to hurt their bottom lines. In fact, what we're expecting to see is that the pandemic helped their bottom lines tremendously, much like we've seen this season so far for all these other companies, the banks, all the other companies that have so far reported. Yesterday's darling was Tesla. We had to wait all day for Tesla to announce, right? But when they did, what did Donnie do? He reported an astonishing number for the quarter, some $11 billion on the top line in the quarter alone, and a net profit of $1.1 billion after all was said and done. Earnings per share coming in at $1.45 versus the expected 97 cents, a beat of 50% over the estimates, as they beat on every possible metric you could imagine, right? In addition, he reported a $23 million impairment related to the value of his Bitcoins, which his accountant filed under the restructuring and other incidentals. Okay, I added the incidentals because I just think it adds to the drama of it all. Remember, Bitcoin plunged from 60,000 a coin earlier in the quarter down to 30,000 this quarter. The headline tells us all the details, right? Tesla reports more than $1 billion in net income during the second quarter, up tenfold from a year ago. Then Wall Street Journal comes out with Tesla quarterly profit soars to a record $1.1 billion in the quarter. Apparently, they sidestepped the global chip shortage by substituting alternative chips and developing their own software for the cards. Not really sure what that means, but what alternative really means, but whatever. He also noted that the California plant is serving the U.S. customers, while China has now become the main manufacturing and export hub for the rest of the world. Once again, putting all our eggs in China. I don't know what no one's paying attention to, but whatever. The stock rose by 1% in the after-hours session after having been up 1% during the regular session. Expect to hear more about this today, and expect that conversation to dovetail right into the other tech companies that are going to report earnings this week. Not because they're Tesla, but because they're just the tech companies, right? We're looking for Google, Microsoft, and Apple all due out after the bell today, with Facebook and Amazon later on in the week. We get all the city sounds all around us. I hope it's not really annoying. It is what it is. The rising cases of the Delta variant did little to stop the push higher, but it is being cited as a possible headwind in the weeks ahead, which makes zero sense to me. In the weeks ahead, it will be an issue. Why is it an issue today? It's not as if it's not here. It's spreading like wildfire. So we're going to put that on the back burner until we need a negative story, and then we'll pull it out. That seems like what they do. In addition, asset managers and investors are waiting patiently for word from the Fed tomorrow at 2 o'clock. EcoData yesterday revealed that existing home sales plunged by 6.6% versus the expected increase of 3.5%, while the Dallas Fed survey also came in a bit weaker. seems that home buyers just want new, right? They're not interested in buying someone else's mess that needs to be renovated and updated to live in today's world. New homes come with every bell and whistle you can imagine. And then you can finance the whole shebang. Surely, the decline in existing home sales is going to prompt the Fed to maintain its course and continue to support the overheated housing market, citing yesterday's weakness in existing sales as a concern. This morning, the China syndrome is adding once again to the global pressure. Stocks in Hong Kong and China took another beating overnight, falling 4.2% and 3.5% respectively, leaving both those indexes down 8.5% and 7% in just 2 days as the regulatory heat gets turned up. European markets are lower this morning as well, all down about 0.75% across the board. Asian weakness, the spread of the Delta variant, earnings are all the rage. In addition, the Europeans are also waiting on what Jay Powell has to say, because then they expect that soon after, the European Central Bank is going to come out with their own statement. And the fear is that if the Fed starts to taper and change policy, the ECB is not far behind. Recall what ECB President Christine Lagarde said only a month ago, that the ECB will not make a move until the Fed makes a move, so get ready, because the Fed is about to make a move. Or at least they're going to talk about making a move. Whether or not he pulls the trigger is going to be the question. U.S. futures are lower again this morning, like I said, in what feels like a do-over from yesterday, right? It's the China action. It's the rumor that the U.S. funds are liquidating Asian assets as the talk of U.S. is considering restricting investments in both China and Hong Kong, and that is causing the latest round of selling. Look, China is now cracking down on tech, education, real estate, healthcare, and even food delivery services in an attempt to tighten its grip on big tech. And the onslaught that began only months ago is only getting worse. And toss in the whole Taiwan issue and the recent comments by the foreign minister about how relations between DC and Beijing are at a stalemate and have never been worse in years, only adds to the hotbed of angst that's kind of circulating amongst investors, global investors, as they make their way through the day, right? This morning, U.S. futures, like I said, are lower, right? The Dow's off 185 points, the S&P's down 20, Nasdaq's down 35 points, the Russell is also down about 20 points. It's what's setting up to be kind of just another weak opening. Bitcoin, which had rallied hard over the weekend, rising nearly $8,000 on rumors of the Amazon getting into the Bitcoin game, sent it briefly up and through $40,000. As the shorts ran for cover and investors tried to take advantage of the rumor. Well, that proved to be false, and Bitcoin is now trading back down at 37 after Amazon came out last night and denied that they're considering doing anything with Bitcoin. So now the question is Bitcoin going to trade back down through 30,000? I guess we'll see. Expect the Bitcoin bulls to say absolutely not, but we'll see. Recall, the rumor started on late Friday afternoon because Amazon has a help wanted ad out there looking for a digital currency and blockchain product specialist. So clearly there is something going on. Maybe it's going to be an Amazon coin, something that directly challenges Bitcoin for control of the market. And that development would disrupt the whole Bitcoin story. Why are you looking at me? Why is that absurd? Hasn't Amazon taken control of everything in our lives? Is it really absurd to think that maybe they're going to try to disrupt Bitcoin? Well, Ethereum, which also got caught up in the excitement, is also down about 2% this morning, trading at around 2,200. Yesterday, the 10-year Treasury yield fell and ended the day at 1.25%, which is interesting, since so many analysts on the street are expecting the 10-year to end at 1.8% by the end of the year, right? Which is a substantial move higher from here. But we see how quick that can happen. The 30-year ended yielding at 1.9%. Oil is holding itself right at $72 a barrel, which is, just as I've said, right between the 70 and 80 range. I think it's going to kind of work its way up closer to 80 in the weeks ahead, but that's me. There's a slew of eco data due out today. Durable goods are supposed to be up 2.1%. Ex-transports up 0.8%. Capital goods ordered up 0.8%. Capital goods shipped up 0.8%. Housing price index shows a 1.6% increase in the Richmond Fed manufacturing survey of 20. The S&P closed last night at 44.22 at the high of the day. Now, since we've broken up and through the trend line, which I had drawn weeks ago at 4,400, 4,406, like that, the new trend line suggests 4,470. But you could also draw another trend line suggesting resistance is not until 4,550. In any event, it is what it is. And so much of the next move is going to be determined by the Fed. Jay Powell's made it very clear that they're going to be talking about it, and he's sure to make it clear in the notes tomorrow. But what he may not do is define a time frame for it to begin, and that is what the markets are looking for. So if he doesn't define it, Does that mean it's not happening anytime soon, or does it just mean that it's not going to announce it until the August Jackson Hole boondoggle, the Fed boondoggle that happens every August in Jackson Hole? In any event, we're entering a seasonally volatile time for the markets. The virus variants remain risk factors for the markets, especially as we come into the fall. And remember, they're expecting it to be an issue in the weeks ahead. Market corrections range from 5% to 20%, or expectations for a correction. I'm thinking that maybe we're in the 7 to 10% range, but so much is going to depend on what Jay Powell says. Right? So stick to the plan. Remember, investing is dynamic. Keep some cash ready to deploy, but don't be so quick on the trigger just yet, because I think you're going to get your opportunity for weaker prices in the days ahead. Look, you know what you can do? You can text the word invest at 21,000 to get my digital business card. Give me a call if you'd like to discuss the markets or a plan. We got a couple of dogs screaming in the background. And you know you can always follow me on Twitter. And my Twitter handle is at Kenny Polcari. Okay, so what are we having for dinner tonight? We're having the veal capriccioso. And the veal capriccioso, first of all, it's a simple dish to make, yet it looks elegant. It's a great dish to serve if you're having guests over for dinner. Not so much a backyard barbecue or picnic, but a great dinner if you're going to have guests over, right? For this, you're going to need the veal cutlets, you need Italian-style breadcrumbs, you need arugula, spinach, tomatoes, red onion, bocconcini, you need salt and pepper, you need a little bit of olive oil, right? So you begin with the pounded veal cutlets. Rinse them under cold water, pat them dry with a paper towel, then set them aside. Get the flour ready. You need flour, right? So dredge the cutlets in flour, then dip it in an egg wash, the way we do. And then put it in the homemade Italian-style breadcrumbs on both sides, and get all the veal cutlets covered with the Italian breadcrumbs, and set them aside until you finish it off. When completed, now you're going to heat up the olive oil in a baking, like a Pyrex dish, and you're going to put it under the broiler. Be careful to watch the oil that doesn't ignite. Don't put it real close to the broiler. Put it like in the middle rack. Wait till the oil gets really hot. Then dip the veal cutlets in the hot oil. One side, you hear it sizzle. Then flip it over to the other side. Then do that. Fill the plate, and then put it under the broiler. Let them broil for maybe 5-8 minutes till they get nice and golden brown. Flip them over to broil the other side. While this is happening, you're going to prepare the salad. So the arugula, the spinach, romaine, whatever you choose, the chopped red onion, the tomatoes, the quartered pieces of bocconcini. Season it with salt and pepper, oregano, and some fresh lemon juice, right? Toss it and season it. Set it aside. Now, once the cutlets are done and you broil them on both sides and they're a beautiful golden brown, remove them from the oven and place them on warmed individual plates, right? Take your salad, the salad that you prepared, and using some tongs, dress each cutlet with the salad, right? So make sure you get the arugula and the spinach, the red onions, the tomatoes, the bocconcini, everything that gives it color, right? Because it's going to be beautiful colors of green and red. The red onions are kind of this deep ruby red, while the tomatoes are more of an orangey red, right? And you've got scallions, you've got the lettuce. You can put whatever you want in it. But that's typically what I put in. Then I take the bocconcini, which are the really small mozzarella balls, and I'll cut them up into quarters, and I'll add that to the mix, right? You can drizzle it with one more little drop of olive oil before you serve it to your guests. But serve it with, this one would demand a nice red wine. You can use something really robust if you want, but for this I also prefer, you could certainly have a Brunello di Montalcino. You can never argue with that. But I would also, in the summertime, something maybe a little bit lighter. So I'm happy to go with a Chianti. One way or the other, keep it simple. The meal is delicious. It looks beautiful on the plate, and that's really the focus. In any event, the day is getting started. Take good care. I'll see you in the morning.